But yeah, on the other note though, like I said, that's kind of the theme. Is just like the universe is like screaming in my face with love, like, hey, whatever notions of control, whatever way you think things are supposed to go, they ain't gonna go that way. And it's okay though. Instead of like raging and being all like, yeah, all roid rage about it, just like chill out, bruh. Like relax. Life is good. Life is cool. So that's where I'm at right now. Cause like, don't get me wrong, bro. Like old me, I've struggled with anger for most of my life. So usually something like this happening, I probably would, like old me would just like flip out on air and just start like flipping tables and just like be blinded by rage and just start being a dumb A. But I'm not gonna do that because A, growth and evolution. And this is a perfect like moment right now. Like literally everything I feel like happens for a reason. Like everything is in divine timing. If I have been like taught anything like in the recent memory, like right now in life, just like life lessons, it's just like my heart has brought me to trust. Like people talk about faith and people talk about trust, but recently I like the events in my life that have recently unfolded have really like brought me there, have really pulled this out of me. Like, yo, you have no other option but to trust that all is well, and to trust that everything is happening in God's time, and just like release and surrender this notion of control and the ego. Because at the end of the day, the ego is the one that's always going to create this perception of, oh, we got to do it now. Rush, 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 rush. Boom, 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 boom. Now, 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 now. Because the ego knows that it's on borrowed time. Like the ego knows that, yo, we're here in these meat suits for a little bit and then we outie. So the ego is always going to want to be tripping and bugging and be saying like, no, do this now, do this now. And if you don't conform to that in the immediate now, the ego is going to just start going in this whole rabbit hole. Like, no, screw you. You suck. You're this and that. Just going to, start degrading your whole personality, because that's what the ego does. But when it comes to the heart, though, when we choose to live more from the heart, because I believe the heart really is the bridge of our divinity. Like it bridges the spirit world to this world. So when we choose to open our heart and to be more open to being in the flow and to really just trusting that there is a higher plan, that's when things usually start to happen. And usually when we just relax and just kind of like let things go, the universe usually starts to work their magic. So it's in kind of low-key breakdown moments like now when the internet is just completely shut down, and when my part of me in my mind's like, what is going on? It's in moments like these where this is like the purest magic, really. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like nothing's promised. Like we never know what's gonna happen, bro. So it's like, if anything, this is just like we're live, dude. Like I woke up today, you know what I mean? Like, hey man, it's hot. Like last night was hot. I don't really got AC where I'm at, but it's cool because I literally woke up to be alive and to like share this form of creative expression with y'all today. And that's really what it's about. For me, it's trying my best to be in a state of love and gratitude, but like that's very difficult because life can be complicated, and a lot of times, like I was saying, I be raging and stuff. So a big lesson that I've been learning has just been to do just like go with the flow, and to not fall victim too much of the ego, because like I said, the ego is where that rage comes from, thinking that we have borrowed time. But when we align ourselves with the heart and the spirit, we understand that, yo, we're infinite beings. Yes, we're here in these physical vessels for a limited amount of time, but who we are is energy. Who we are, that spirit, that soul, that's magic. Like that's pixie dust, like baby, like whatever you want to say, but like the essence, like that vitality, that life force energy of who we are, that spirit. So like when our meat suits, when our bodies are done, they're going to be 6 feet under or whatever, but our spirits are going to transition onto other dimensional planes, the other experiences, and we're going to keep going. So what happens is when people tend to live these lives when they think that all there is these bodies and these egos, when we just live from that notion, that's when the monsters come out. And shout out, have y'all seen the movie Juice with Tupac in that? Yo, that's one of my favorite movies. I seen that the other day. And it's like, yo, that's kind of the perfect like metaphor for this idea. Like if you stick too hard to the ego, if you try to attach yourself as like your identity to your ego, is like, oh, this, my ego, like this is who I am. If you try like to attach yourself to that, you're going to turn into Tupac on Juice. Like no cap. Like, and that was like crazy, bro. Cause that day when I saw that movie, I was like, yo, I was going through a little power trip. And then it's like, dude, that's where the mind's going to get you to, because they think that everything is a rush. But at the end of the day, what is the ego really going to want to do to solidify that power? Like when you think that you're running on borrowed time, if you really go down that rabbit hole, think about it. How deep is that going to be? Like, how far are you going to want to assert your dominance? You know what I mean? Like, how far are you going to want to take things? Chances are it's going to be too far. You know what I mean? Kind of like to the point of maybe not necessarily taking someone's life. Hopefully not, because that's not what we want to do. But it can go that way, though. That literally, that's literally the root of war. Like, when people go and fight wars, they fight wars because they're trying to protect some identity that they constructed in their mind. They're trying to protect these made up artificial walls that they created in their mind. That's why we go to war. Whether it's countries going to war, or whether it's gangs going to war, whether it's just different factions on the streets, or just different people beefing. That's literally when people say go to war, because that's all like trending these days, to go to war. But it's like, I don't know about y'all, but war sucks. I don't like war. I'd rather have peace. And at the end of the day, we've been like I said, like, war is the path of the ego. So if you really want to attach yourself to the ego, like, wholeheartedly, and really immerse yourself in the ego and really think that, yo, that's all who you are, then most likely you will be going down a war path. But that's not to say that the ego is bad, because what I'm kind of learning is, like, it's all about balance. It's like, if you just think your ego is who you are, then yes, you will probably go down a rabbit hole of, like, power and, like, self-destruction. Essentially, you will. It's just what it is. It's going to happen that way. But a lot of times that's how we learn. Because I say this because I literally was going down that path of self-destruction, and so it's through that path of self-destruction that it brought me more clarity and brought me the awareness, like, hey, there's this other path of truth, of love, and of the heart, and of the Most High that I can get with. And yeah, it requires some more sacrificing. It requires a little more discipline that I'm still definitely working on. I'm no guru at all. Even as I'm talking to you right now, I'm stoned off my butt. And it was one of those things where I was kept telling myself, man, oh, I'm not going to smoke. I'm going to take more time to, like, not smoke, no substances. But hey, here we are, stoned on the radio. But you know what I mean? Like, you just gotta, but it goes back to love and compassion. Because it's like, that's the thing. The ego is always going to be there. The ego is always going to play tricks on you. I mean, that's life. The thing about it that I'm experiencing, though, is, like, instead of hating yourself and instead of going into that rabbit hole of self-destruction, just, like, if something happens with the ego, if you find yourself falling into that, like, rabbit hole power, laugh it off. Offer yourself more compassion. Offer yourself more love. Offer yourself more empathy, like, offer yourself forgiveness, because that's literally literally right there, that's literally the way. Like, that's literally the best. In my experience, that's the best way to align yourself with the heart. There's so many, like, spiritual gurus, quote unquote, and so many teachers, so-and-so these days, that want to promote these different spiritual agendas and all that. And shout out to them, cool and all that. But one of the things that I kind of have a problem with is, like, people like are very opinionated. So it's like, okay, if somebody meditates, right, and they have a particular practice of meditation that works for them, I feel like it's because of that excitement that there is a genuine spot where they're like, okay, well, this is how you meditate. But at the same time, that's their ego that is also getting in the way, because it's like, yo, just because you meditate this way does not mean that you have the right to tell everyone, oh, if you're not meditating this way, the way that I do, then you're meditating wrong and you're on the wrong path. Because I know people like that. And that's actually the rabbit hole I fell into earlier on my path of awakening. A lot of these gurus, or a lot of these people that disguise themselves under the umbrella of being a spiritual teacher. Because I say disguise because it's like that's no disrespect, but like a real spiritual teacher, a real person who is on the path of, like, being an actual spiritual teacher is not going to tell you what to do. Like, they're just going to tell you things from their experience and offer that as an invitation if you would like to emulate. But because at the end of the day, we're all reflections of each other. Like, a real spiritual teacher is going to understand, like, by telling you to do something, that's just a projection. But, like, if I or whoever wants to be whoever, if you just literally embody and walk the walk and be what it is that you believe and that you're trying to project, your actions are going to speak for themselves. And if people truly feel it comes from a genuine space, and if they feel inspired by that action, by that embodiment, then it's going to be a no-brainer. People are going to follow suit, but it's just that natural. If it doesn't resonate with them, it's not going to resonate. But I feel like there's too many fake spiritual gurus and teachers out here trying to say, oh, well, back up straight and have your, say Om, and have your fingers all like this. That's how you meditate properly. You cannot, if you do not do that, then you are going to hell and you're not going to meditate properly. Like, it's crazy, dude. Like, no, bro. Like, and I actually fell for that. And again, it's no shade, but I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, if you are someone who's on a path of awakening, which a lot of us are right now, and you do kind of fall to these blogs where they say, oh, this is how you breathe, take into consideration, like, if it works for you, cool. Like, if a breathing technique that somebody offers you genuinely works for you, go for it. If a visual technique or a way that somebody moves, or the way that somebody heals works for you, cool, go for it. But at the same time, if it doesn't resonate with you, it's cool. Because what I'm really discovering, bro, like, we're all different. So there's so many different ways that we can release energy. There's so many different ways that we can connect to spirit, that we can connect to our soul, that we can connect to our heart. There's so many ways that we can do that without having to, like, subscribe to one narrative. So it's like there's some people out there that can... the third eye may be open enough, and they just make their energetic bodies may be advanced enough or open enough in the moment where they can see clearly from a vantage point of, they can clear energy. Like, I know people like that. They can just like clear energy. All they do is just close their eyes, get into trance for a little bit, and after 10, 20 minutes, they're good. They can clear energy that way. Not everybody like has found out how to do that, myself included. So it used to be when I started this path, I was all like, beating myself up. I'm like, oh, well, how come I'm not astral projecting? How come I'm not meditating like these other gurus are doing? Like, I'm doing something wrong. But it's like, actually, when you fall down that rabbit hole, when you get mad at yourself for doing something wrong, you're digging yourself deeper into that trap. Because really the best thing to do, like I said earlier, is to just like be more loving. Forgive yourself. It's like, okay, whatever, cool, we'll figure it out. Offer more compassion, offer more empathy. Because really, that is what I experience as the reset. Like, when we do get frustrated, because we will get frustrated. This is life. We live on earth. When we feel frustrated, when we feel like we want to rage, just let that, like, feel that, and like just honor that, and offer yourself love and compassion instead of getting mad. And then in due time, it's gonna go away. And by you just offering love and being gentle on yourself and being like, okay, it's okay that I feel this way right now. It's okay. By you just internalizing that, you're gonna be good. So for me, thus far, this is how I figured out that you can really just align yourself on the path of righteousness and of the heart and of spirit. It's just as simple as, when things do come up, whether it's being frustrated at yourself, whether it's being frustrated at another reflection, whether it's being too hot and just getting irritable because of that, because that's totally a thing, though, if you know, you know. But if that, just like take some breaths, or even just put your hand over your heart, be like, yo, it's cool, it's okay to feel this way. And just shower yourself with compassion and love. Like, it really don't get more simpler than that, honestly. It's really what it is. So that's what's kind of funny, is like, you got a lot of these teachers out here, a lot of people that will try to say, no. They'll actually try to be like, no, if you don't do it this way, then you're failing. Like, you're failing on your path. Like, what are you doing? No, you have to be rigid on your path. Like, if you don't do it this way, you got to be tough love with yourself. And it's just like, nah, bro, that ain't the way to go, man. One of these things, I think, and again, these are all my opinions. Like, these aren't opinions shared by like KDIF or by like the school. These are like all my opinions, you know. But it's like, life is too short, dude. As humans, we take things way too seriously. You know, it's like, I've noticed that a lot, bro, through other reflections. So like, when I see other people walking around taking themselves so seriously, I take a step back and like, dang, do I see myself like that sometimes, bro? Because like, if I do, that's ridiculous, dog. Because like, so sometimes it's just like, yo, take a step back, because this life is meant to be enjoyed. This life is meant to be savored and embraced and loved. Like, we weren't meant to be in this constant state of paranoia, in this constant state of disharmony, in this constant state of imbalance, in this constant state of hatred, man, in this constant state of sacrifice, you know. Like, that's just something that's kind of relatively new post the fall, you know, post us thinking that, when I say the fall, it's like us thinking that we're not spirit, that we're not divine, that we're not connected to God, that we don't have the light of God inside of our hearts. It's that notion of thinking that we've accepted throughout several generations, that, like I said earlier, that the ego is all we are. It's under that premise that we have been walking around building these civilizations, building these countries, declaring war, doing all this and that, thinking genuinely that we're on borrowed time, thinking genuinely that there is no other side, thinking genuinely that we aren't vessels of love and light and of spirit. And that's what we are. So yeah.